So over the weekend, Thor Love and Thunder released in theatres, and here is my spoiler review. I've already done a non-spoilery review if you want to see my thoughts on the movie without giving any details away. However, in this review, I just wanted to talk about specific points that happened in the movie, and I'm going to go through it chronological order. However, given my overall review of the movie, I thought it was good. However, I don't think it's as good as Thor Ragnarok. It still had the same jokes. I don't think it was as funny as Thor Ragnarok. Also, I think Christian Bale done a good job with Gore, the God Butcher, as well. However, starting off with the intro, we got the introduction of Gore. And I really liked the intro and Gore in general. As I said in the spoiler-free review, I thought when we saw Gore, that was one of the highlights of the movie and learning about him. So that introduction of just him and seeing how he became Gore, his backstory with the Necro Sword, and him killing the god, I thought that was a nice way to introduce the character and the movie. And that's also one of my big complaints with the movie, like a lot of other people, is that I don't think we get to see enough of Gore at all. As really, we only get to see him really at the start, in New Asgard, and then towards the end with the finale fight. And I would have liked it more if they included his journey once he gets the Necro Sword, or even at least showing Gore kill at least some other gods, as we got all our information about Gore just at the start and nothing really else throughout the movie until we get to the end. And then moving on, we get to see the Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor together, and they were in the movie as much as I expected them. I didn't think they would have a big presence in it, and they really didn't have any presence in the movie at all, about 5 minutes. However, it's nice to see the Guardians of the Galaxy again. And it looks like the Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor will team up again, as it's been like rumours that Thor will be in the new Guardians of the Galaxy movie. However, with a couple of the characters, more Drax and Groot especially, I felt like they were a bit off in it, as I didn't think Groot sounded the same, and I had to check at the end to see if Vin Diesel still played Groot in that. He did, but it didn't sound like him at all. And also Drax didn't really get to say anything. Well, I don't think he said anything at all. And apart from that, that's what I was expecting to get from the Guardians of the Galaxy, as I didn't think they would want them to overbear Thor and have a lot of characters in this Thor movie. And then we move on into the introduction of Jane. And I like how they done Jane in this movie, from just becoming Dr. Jane Foster to becoming Mighty Thor. From once we see her in the hospital having her treatment, and then she goes off to New Asgard. However, once we see her in New Asgard, before she becomes Mighty Thor, I wish they showed us a bit more of that change and more of her transition. And I say that because once Thor gets there, Valkyrie makes it seem like she already seen Jane as Mighty Thor. And I feel like they could have added a bit of time to give us more of her becoming Mighty Thor instead of just us seeing her as Mighty Thor. However, I do like how they done Jane in this. And whilst we were in New Asgard, we get to see how it's changed since Endgame. And how they portrayed Asgard in this movie, I think makes a lot of sense, as it's not a place on Earth. They brought it to Earth. It would be a tourist attraction. You would have a lot of people trying to visit, trying to see what New Asgard's about. Also wanting to see the hammer and see where Thor came from. So having the idea of having New Asgard as a tourist attraction does make sense. And they also had that funny scene again by having the play of Thor Ragnarok, by having Luke Hemsworth, Matt Damon and Melissa McCartney come out and play for Loki and Hela. And like in Thor Ragnarok, I thought that was good again. And I thought they were gonna end up getting killed by Gore in the end, as Gore would not mistake them for the real gods, but they would try and pretend they are and end up getting killed. However, it didn't happen. And next we have Gore going into New Asgard, taking the kids and fighting Valkyrie, Thor and Mighty Thor. And I thought this was a good fight, and we got to see more of Jane Foster as Mighty Thor, and also Mjolnir back again, and get to see how she's using Mjolnir now that it's broken, and also Thor's reaction to seeing Jane Foster again. And also, once they do that, I like how they have Korg go over the background of the relationships, and even in general, he done that at the start of the video about Thor just to see where he was, and now they've done it again, but this time with Thor's and Jane's relationship. And I say that because even though we're all big into Marvel, we all know everything that happened. We already knew their relationship. The person I went to see with isn't as big and doesn't remember everything and doesn't watch all the Marvel stuff. So having that background information, seeing where they left off and why they broke up and everything, it was a good way of just reminding the audience of where they are. And we got to see some scenes of new scenes that we haven't seen with how they broke up and why they broke up in a sense. And then we have Thor and Gorr the God Butcher having their little fight, and it wasn't anything that big. It was a quick fight, and it was more just for him, Gorr the God Butcher, to take the kid. And I know this is probably just thinking too much into it, but was that his plan the whole time, just to get the kid so that he can lead Thor to go and chase him? Or was he just there to plan and to try and kill Thor at that point? As he already sent out those the monsters to get the kids already before he even saw Thor. So I'm just thinking, was that his actual plan or the whole time, or just because he couldn't kill Thor in the end, he just went through with it? However, moving on, and then we have Thor and Valkyrie suggesting that they should go to Omnipotent City to go and see Zeus so that he can help them try and take down Gorr the God Butcher. And I did like while they were at Omnipotent City, as it is a new location we haven't seen in the MCU yet. And then we get to see Russell Crowe as Zeus. And even though I liked the performance of Russell Crowe playing Zeus, I did feel like it was a bit over the top in the way he was doing it. And I'm guessing they done that on purpose, but it just about worked for me. And then we have Thor asking to use Thunderbolt and Zeus saying no, and Valkyrie and Jane Foster coming in to help defeat Zeus. And I feel like, I know they have to move the plot forward quite quickly, but how easy they defeated Zeus was a bit too easy. As they had Zeus as this big powerful god, he was the main god, he had his own intro, and how easy Thor was able to defeat him. Felt like they undermined how powerful they set him up to be by having that intro, by having him being the main god up there. However, once we do get the Thunderbolt and we leave Omnipotent City, I do think the movie gets a lot better from this point. And I also think the tone changes a lot from this point. As before, it was all light-hearted and fun, and then once we get past Omnipotent City, and then we're on the way to meet Gorr the God Butcher, I do think the tone got a lot more serious. And that serious tone change did start with Thor saying that he still loved Jane, and also Jane saying that she had cancer to Thor. And then we get to Gorr's planet, and then we see what Gorr's plans actually are, of him needing Stormbreaker to enter Eternity, as he needs the Bifrost to open it. And also, this might be also me thinking too much detail again, but what was he doing before this then? If he wanted to enter Eternity all this time to kill all the gods, but however he needed Stormbreaker to use the Bifrost, how was he gonna? If Stormbreaker wasn't made by Thor in Infinity War, how was he gonna end up going to Eternity? As was he gonna get Heimdall to try and open it for him so he can go there? Because I can't think of another way that he would have been able to without using Stormbreaker until it was made. And then we have Gorr the God Butcher himself come out, and this was the best part of the movie for me. Him going to each of them and having conversations with all of them, explaining how God's let them down in some sort of a way or another, torturing Valkyrie and Mighty Thor Jane Foster so that Thor can bring back Stormbreaker so that he can open or use the Bifrost to get to Eternity. Once Thor does get Stormbreaker back, we do have our big fight, and I thought the visuals during this fight looked really good, as it was grey. However, we did have our hints of colour throughout the fight, and I thought that looked really nice on screen. And whilst they're fighting, we have Gorr stab Valkyrie and Thor trying to take them back to New Asgard. And with Gorr wanting the hammer, wanting Stormbreaker, why is he going to open the Bifrost to go back? However, they do, and they end up going back to New Asgard, and Gorr takes the hammer. And once we get back to New Asgard, we have Valkyrie recovering, and we also have Jane in the hospital, and Thor more or less explaining to her that if she becomes Mighty Thor again, that she will end up dying, and he's trying to go back to defeat Gorr by himself. And throughout the whole movie, they were hinting that someone was going to die. There was hinting of a death, and they get them talk about Valhalla and dying in battle. However, I didn't think they were actually going to do it. Even with Jane, even though she had the stage 4 cancer, I didn't think they were going to end up killing someone else throughout the movie. However, we have Thor going out to find Gorr the God Butcher, as he has still had the kids and was going off to Eternity to try and kill all the gods. And the inclusions of the kids, I didn't think it worked that well. I wasn't a big fan of all the kids in the movie, as I didn't think the tone when the kids were in the movie matched up to the rest of the movie. But Thor gives them the power of Thor for a limited time so that they're able to defeat the bad guys. And Thor fights Gorr again, trying to destroy the Necro Sword. And even though we had 3 separate fight scenes, of Thor and Gore. I didn't feel like in general we saw a lot of Gore fighting in that sense, as every time he was fighting it was very quick until that point. And even in the finale they were fighting, but it left me wanting more. It left me wanting to see more of Gore in the movie. As I said, I feel like they didn't use him enough and they should have had him more in the movie. However, Thor was just about to get defeated when Jane Foster comes in and is Mighty Thor again and helps defeat Gore and destroy the Necrosword while Thor is trying to get Stormbreaker to stop using the Bifrost. And the Stormbreaker Mjolnir relationship with Thor, I did like that. I quite enjoyed it, and most of the times it was quite funny as Thor was trying to use Mjolnir as like a dog to call him back to him with Stormbreaker coming back. I thought that was funny and the jokes on that were good. However, Stormbreaker still makes the hole to go to eternity, and Gore the God Butcher and Thor and Jane are there while Jane's dying. And first let me talk about Jane and Thor, and I thought this part worked well with Jane dying. They mentioned They mentioned death a lot, foreshadowing someone was going to die, with all the references of Valhalla, and even when Korg said to Valkyrie about Thor and Jane having kids, and she was saying unlikely, they were hinting at it. However, until Jane came back as Mighty Thor, I didn't feel they're actually going to kill her off. However, I thought they'd done it well, having them two together, saying they still loved each other, and they were able to have their moment before she passed. And now moving on into Gore the God Butcher. And I hate when Marvel do this at the moment. They done it with Wanda in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. They done this in Shang-Chi and Eternals. It's when they have the villain somehow have a redemptive arc at the end. Like, I could understand it a bit in in Doctor Strange, because Wanda has been a good character, and I can understand her turning back in the end. But having Gore the God Butcher turn the way he did at the end, I didn't think it fitted at all. As Gore's been saying this whole time, his one mission is to kill all the gods. He's there. Even Thor said it. He's won. At that moment there is his opportunity to finish what he started. They have him think it over to bring his daughter back. And I guess it's nice that he has that moment with his daughter again when she's back. And now he's the one that's dying and he gets to spend that last couple of moments with her again. However, it doesn't fit the whole journey. He was so set out about his one mission to kill all the gods, and once he's there and then he's able to get persuaded to bring his daughter back, I didn't like how they done that part at all. And then we end off with Thor looking after Agar, and I thought that was a nice touch as well, him looking after the child and them going out together as they said at the end of Love and Thunder. And moving on into the post-credit scenes, and the first one is of Zeus. He's healing after we find out that he's not dead and Thor didn't kill him, and he's talking about how the perception of gods has changed and that no one asks for gods, they ask for superheroes now. And then we end up finding out that he's talking to Hercules, so that'll be interesting to see how they use Hercules now as a foe against Thor. Is it going to be in a standalone movie? Is it going to be more of an overarching thing like how Thanos was, in the sense that they were saying superheroes in general, or did they just mean Thor as a superhero and a god? So it'll be interesting to see where they take the direction of Thor vs Hercules. And lastly, we have Jane Foster going into Valhalla, and we get to see Idris Elba as Heimdall again, and that was also just a nice touch, as throughout the movie they kept on mentioning dying in battle, going to Valhalla, and ending up seeing Jane end up in Valhalla. That was the nice way to end it. And we end off with a title screen saying Thor will return. And I seen some interviews where he was saying he doesn't know if he's going to return as Thor or return. So I don't know if that's for his own movie or is Thor going to return for a team up movie as in Guardians of the Galaxy. So it'll be interesting to see where they take this Thor character next. So overall, I thought it was a good movie. In the Thor ranking, I would say it's below Thor Ragnarok. And I did enjoy it. I didn't like how they ended Gore's character. Also, there was some problems in the tone of the movie as well, as it kept on switching up a bit and went from quite extreme tones at some points. And lastly, I feel like Gore could have been in it a bit more. But overall, I would say it was quite enjoyable. So let me know down below in the comments what your thoughts on the movie are. And thank you for watching.